Welcome to the 6th week of our flats growing. We planted the flats on June 8th and today is July 25th. This is actually a very happy day. We had 2 enormous showers today for the first time in weeks. So a little bit later on I'm going to be doing my flats dance, my rain dance here in the flats field. I actually have my rubber boots on because the field is wet, which is absolutely amazing. Things have been very stressed lately. The plants and both the crops as well as the wild vegetation has been enormously stressed by our heat and by the lack of rain. The corn is stunted, the leaves are curling, it's a very pale green, and we're going to find the same thing here with the flats being stunted. And as the corn is already heading up and developing ears, even though it's about half the size of its usual height, we're going to find the same thing here. We're going to see the very first leaves, actually the first flowers opening up, and they'll be starting to set and make seed. The only problem is, as we'll see, is that the flats is about half the height of what it needs to be. Now we have irrigated twice since the last time we videotaped this. So we've been trying to keep the field and the flats crop moist, but nothing compares with the rain from Mother Nature, so we're very pleased with that. We're at the edge of our field. The best flats is actually around the edge of the field. We think the soil probably is just played out after years of planting flats here, even though we do fertilize every year and often add chicken manure as well, in addition to chemical nitrogen. We think the soil is probably played out, and with our heavy clay soil, it's not very good to begin with. So this is about the best we have into the 6th week of planting. It is, I'd say, about 18 inches tall. It could easily be 24 to 30 inches tall at this stage. The very first flowers are budding out. That beautiful sky blue flower we'll see tomorrow. And each flower blooms for a day and then it'll set. And let me count them right now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 potential buds on this flower. And you can see the virtue of planting a fiber flats is that it doesn't branch until the very tip top of the plant. You have a very tall, straight stalk, which is what you want when you're doing fiber. The other variety of flats, oil variety, is very bushy and has branches starting lower down to increase the number of blooms and therefore the amount of seed that you get. However, all those side branches make for a weakened central stalk that doesn't have the strength of these of the straight fiber flats from the straight fiber flats. I'm in the middle of the field now, an area where the weeds are not as heavily concentrated as they are in some spots behind me. I've decided not to spray the field anymore for herbicides, or actually with herbicides. By this point, the weeds are so tall and strong that killing them would actually kill the flats as well. So from here on, it's survival of the fittest. So you guys are going to have to do your best. Yeah, Christian and I were talking about the triple whammy of poor soil, worn out soil, high heat, dryness. The triple whammy has really KO'd our flats crop this year. You can see how short the flats is, even in areas where the weeds are not as concentrated, the flats is still very short, and we probably are not going to end up with much of a crop in this area. Where the weeds are heavier behind me, even just right behind me, there's very little flats, and I don't think we're going to get much out of there either. Well, here we are on the eastern side of the field, and this is really our best stand of flats. It's probably 75 feet long, about 5 feet wide, and I think this is going to be about it. On the other side of the field, I can see a similar, if somewhat shorter and smaller area of flats. So for all the work that we've put into it, this is going to be our reward. But actually, this flats is not bad. It's almost 2 feet tall. And again, it's starting to flower. And the flats flower is really beautiful. It's sky blue. It's pictured on the front of our book, the Big Book of Flats, and it is a beautiful little flower to look at. So here we are on the western side of the field. There is some flats that's at best about knee-high, but the great thing about all this field today is that it's wet, and the air is cool, the humidity is gone, and we're all pretty happy about this. So I'm going to start doing my little flats dance, my little rain dance. So, coming to you from Pittman, Pennsylvania. We'll see you next time. Hello, it's August 7th. We planted our flats on June 8th, so we are now into the 8th week, the 2nd month of planting, and it's not a pretty picture. What we have is a beautiful crop of weeds and not a lot of flats. We've had pretty steady rains over the past 2 weeks. Once our triple-digit temperatures broke, we've had rain every few days. So the problem has not been lack of rain recently, though it's certainly true that the lack of rain in the first 6 weeks of growth incredibly stunted our flats, even though we were still able to irrigate regularly. So let's see what we've got. This is actually some of our best flats. It's in full bloom, though it's evening now, after 7 o'clock, so the flowers are actually closing up for the day. The height of the flats is about 18 to 20 inches, which is quite short. Once the flowers start to bloom, and once they start to set and form seed pods, the vertical height, the vertical growth stops, because the plant puts all of its energy into nurturing the seeds. So at this point, what we have is all we're going to get. Of course, even though the flats is short and we really will not grow anymore, it happened this way many times in the past. There's an old story about a Pennsylvania Dutch woman down in Berks County in the early 19th century who was pulling short flats by the side of the road, and a stranger came by and mentioned to her the obvious, saying it is very short flats. And she told him that yes, but it will make good child's clothing. So what we have here is a lot of child's clothing. Let's take a look through the field and see more examples of what we've got. Here we are in actually a nice strip of flats. What you'll notice is that these seed pods are forming nicely. We really won't know until after we pull the plant and dry it just how many viable seeds we'll be getting in pods like these. And we're not going to be harvesting the flats probably for another 1.5 to 2 weeks. Everything is quite late this season. And what we're going to be looking for is the lower third of the stalk turning yellow, and here the plant is still completely green. And seeing most of the pods formed with very few flowers left. So we have a ways to go yet, and then at that time we will pull the plants out, dry them in shots, and then we'll start the retting process. Here we are at the upper end of the field, and again, it's not pretty. We're talking flats that's 2 months old and is still only maybe 10, 12 inches tall. What this says is that the soil is basically played out here, and we're trying to grow flats where we really should not be growing it. Basically, we're going to have to move the field in another year and plant someplace else and really let the soil rest for a while. Here we are at the edge of the upper field, and this is actually our one success story. What you'll see is that the flats is almost waist high, and this is an amazing achievement for this year and this soil and this crop. So this is something very heartening to see, and we will certainly enjoy pulling this in another week and a half to 2 weeks.